a young, beautiful woman suddenly arrived at the mine. David, who had been single for decades, was instantly stunned. He never dreamed he would see a beauty in this desolate place, and she was looking at him silently in the cold. David felt incredibly happy inside. After getting gas, he purposely walked slowly past her. A casual glance back instantly turned her into a fangirl. Sarah said she just went through a breakup and wanted to stay at his place for a few months. Hearing this, David pretended to be cold and ignored her. But Sarah kept pestering him, insisting on staying. She promised to do his laundry and cook every day if he provided food and shelter. Such a good deal seemed impossible. David couldn't believe his ears. He thought this woman must be after his money, because he had been digging in this mine for years and had hidden a lot of silver at home. To avoid being tricked, David tearfully rejected the beauty's request. Unexpectedly, Sarah was determined to stay with him. After her affectionate confession, David completely gave in. He immediately killed an old hen to host this homeless woman. The next second, Sarah revealed something he couldn't accept. It turned out she was already pregnant with her ex-boyfriend Mark's child. No wonder she refused to leave. The more David thought about it, the angrier he got. He immediately told her to pack up and leave, seeing she was about to be kicked out. Sarah started crying again, holding on to David tightly and refusing to let go. Left with no choice, David let her stay. Even though he looked reluctant on the outside, he was actually overjoyed inside. The next day, he went to the mine to dig for silver as usual. He found Sarah already standing at the cave entrance. David rushed up and tightly closed the door. Although it was an abandoned mine, he had found dozens of bands of silver inside. If this woman found out, he might go bankrupt. Seeing him on guard, Sarah stopped pretending. She directly said she wanted to go in and see the silver. David realized she had bad intentions, so he scolded her harshly. In a fit of anger, Sarah left the mine. Single again, David immediately regretted it. He stood at the door every day, hoping for a miracle. Half a month later, Sarah actually appeared in front of him again. It looked like she had been wandering the streets all this time. She smelled bad and hadn't washed in a long time. David suddenly felt very guilty. If it weren't for his bad temper, Sarah wouldn't be homeless. From then on, she became gentle and considerate. David now had a young, beautiful girlfriend and lived an enviable life every day. Seeing that David was obsessed with her, Sarah made another request. She demanded he take her to the mine to dig for silver tomorrow. To keep his beauty by his side, David agreed. The next day, the two came to the silver mine. As soon as they entered, Sarah found a shiny lump of silver. But David threw cold water on her excitement, saying it was just cover. To find silver, one must use a chisel to hit the hard mineral veins. With persistence, they would get silver. Hearing this, Sarah got excited. She picked up a chisel and started hitting fiercely. David also swung his pickaxe and worked hard. After a whole day, Sarah was exhausted and weak. She didn't even wash out and lay straight on the bed to sleep. But David took out new pajamas, insisting she had to shower before sleeping today. Sarah had no choice but to obediently take a shower. After that, David worked even harder at mining, hoping to earn enough money to buy a house in the city soon. But after digging for a few days, they found nothing. The short-tempered Sarah threw down her tools and quit. Just then, David suddenly dug up a huge block of silver. Sarah looked at it and suddenly screamed loudly, because she had just dug up a whole pile of these white silver blocks. Becoming rich overnight, the two immediately went to town to spend money. Unexpectedly, David saw his girlfriend hugging someone else. Even though it was just a friendly hug, it made him feel terrible. Surprisingly, Sarah acted like a completely different person after getting rich. She totally ignored him and even had a gang of thugs teach David a lesson. He was almost beaten to death. Seeing this, Sarah was terrified. She rushed up and tightly choked the thug's neck, but was thrown heavily to the ground by the thug. Seeing his beloved woman get beaten, David exploded with endless power. He pinned the thug against the wall and beat him up. Sarah finally realized that David was her true love, and these young guys were no match for him. Unfortunately, fighting has a price. David faced 8 to 10 years in prison for seriously injuring someone. Sarah went to the judge to plead for mercy. She said David only hurt the man to save her. If someone had to go to jail, it should be her. The judge was instantly moved by this honest and kind girl, so he spared David from prison. With her kindness, Sarah saved David's life. The two happily returned to their life at the mine. Half a year later, Sarah gave birth to a cute baby, but David, a first-time father, couldn't feel happy. He didn't even glance at the cute baby. Sarah felt the child needed a father's love, so she forced the baby into David's arms. The baby, who was crying loudly a moment ago, suddenly became very quiet. David was suddenly thrilled. With his sleek eyebrows and big eyes, he looked just like his own biological son. Just as he was immersed in happiness, a young man arrived, and he was driving a luxury car. This man was Sarah's ex-boyfriend, Mark. He came to take Sarah back to marry him. David was completely dumbfounded. He didn't realize he was the fool. The baby he barely got to hold was handed over to someone else. David was curious, but had nowhere to vent his anger. Little did he know, this man's real goal wasn't to marry Sarah. He was targeting David's silver, because the price of silver recently skyrocketed to $50 an ounce. To pay off his loans, Mark secretly went to dig in the silver mine, but David had already seen through his intentions. He raised his shotgun, ready to send him to his doom. At first, David just wanted to scare him, but finding the guy extremely arrogant, David couldn't take it anymore and shot him dead. Sarah was a little sad to learn about her ex-boyfriend's death. He never expected her child to lose his father right after birth. David promised he would take full responsibility for the child. He swore to give the mother and son a good life. Then he went back to the mine and dug out dozens of bags of silver. This wealth was enough to support them for a lifetime.